Hey, everybody, it's Teepa. A question that I got is how to best motivate a loved one to want or accept a support network, especially when change is seen as a threat. Um, and so this includes both the person living with dementia, but also a possible quote unquote stubborn in law. And they're in the house, and you're trying hard to get them into a better living situation because the housing situation isn't working. Now, you know for sure that we've talked about these kind of things before. And what the person who's asking me is really struggling with is a sense that they know what's happening isn't safe, isn't okay. And so they're trying hard to help the other person see what they see. So usually what you'll hear me say in those situations is it sounds like you're leading with your agenda. You're trying to get them to see your perspective. And what typically I'll recommend is I'm wondering whether or not in this moment you're prepared for this conversation and whether you might even be the right person to initiate the conversation. And if you are, where would you want to initiate the conversation? When would you want to initiate the conversation? What kind of props might you want to have available? And what kind of programming where in programming, when in the day, when we think about programming, what would be going around, how would you bring it up? How would you set it up? What does it have to do with? Is it that they would have more opportunity for leisure? Is it they would have more opportunity for feeling purpose and value? Would it be that there would be more opportunity for improved self-care of body or brain, or maybe even sensory experiences? Could it be that there are issues regarding social opportunity, those kind of things? So wanting to really think about what is it about being in another setting that's okay. Now, here's the tricky part. When we do this, what we're doing is setting up a situation where there's potential for a pushback. And so the first step, whether it's you or whether it's someone else, is getting into a situation, including a position that says, how are things going here at the house? What do you notice? So I want to find out, are they truly totally unaware that something isn't going as well as it used to? Or are they partially aware? But their sense of awareness is that it's not that bad yet. So they think we're here, we think they're there. And just sort of check it out first before we do any assumptions. Now, notice my body position. I mean, I try hard to always use PPA, even when we're not even physically present with each other, because when I can show you something where I'm not like this, it tends to get us to think more about what we're talking about and a little bit less about this. So it's not coming between us, it's we're sharing this sort of phenomena. So where you're living now, I mean, I want to say that I see some changes that things are not working to me as well as they used to work. I mean, with what the doctor said about, not driving potentially within a very short window of time, um, it's gonna change getting groceries and getting to church and getting to this and getting to that. So it's more of a soft lead by finding out, and then if I need to, sharing out why it is I'm I'm thinking about this. Now you'll notice I said at some point or in the near future. I didn't say right now because now will elicit more potential for a primitive brain reaction, an amygdala type reaction. And what we're really looking for is not amygdala. It's not what we want at all. We want the brain to engage and sort of think through, problem solve through, see what happens, participate. So I initiate with a how things going rather than assuming that they know that things are not going as well, and not me telling them something, but me instead being curious about their perspective. Now, if I'm not in a great place to do that because we've already had a couple conversations that were less supportive, or I don't want to cause trouble because I'm an in-law, then framing it up, I wonder who in the system, I wonder who and in what place this could take place. And and sometimes it is a one-on-one, and sometimes it should be a two-on-one, two people involved if there's an in-law and the person. And this is where, if we have someone who's so frightened to bring up the conversation to the person who's living with dementia, we've got bigger issues. We've got interaction issues, not just, we've got people issues, not just place issues. And the people in the place are pinching so much that we're feeling this need, oh, well, let's shift. And unfortunately, at that moment, we're not actually talking about bringing another person in, we're talking about bringing a different prop in. Because this relationship is so intense that the other person coming in is not actually an interaction person. It's an object that's seen as a threat. And so it doesn't matter who it is, that person is a threat. So we need to really recognize, wow, if there's a relationship issue that's already starting to exist, whether it's I don't want you to out of my sight or I can't stand you right now. Either way, we're having emotional relationship issues, me and my partner, and I'm the person living with dementia. Then introducing a third party will either feel like you're trying to get out of a relationship you're supposed to be in, or perhaps the problem might be a little bit different. And it might be that I'm afraid you're going to have a relationship with that person. And so they're a prop. They're a third party to the initial problem. Um, if instead the issue is the supporter, the family member who's doing the primary work, and I are in different places, then we've got to figure that out, because we don't want the person living with to simply be a prop or an object that we're pulling and tugging on. It's complicated. And my real answer is, more than likely, you need external help and rehearsal and practice before you try to have this conversation, before you actually try to do anything about this. You may want to practice with a mentor, someone who's more practiced and comfortable with this, so that you can rehearse several times, work out the bugs before you move into the real scenario. And that's because you have an instinctive behavior that you're going to elicit out of yourself. And if you've already know what that is, and you've experienced it a couple times, so is the other person. And you both are establishing a habit of back and forth that isn't going to help you. And when people use a word like stubborn, what it means is you've already hit the brick wall a couple times. And it could be that you've watched somebody do it, or it could be you've done it. But if that's the case, your anticipatory distress is already high, which means you're more likely to go into a primitive brain state or an inability to switch out of what you meant to do. Your voice changes, your rhythm changes, your pattern changes. Whereas someone who's rehearsed a lot can really go, whoa, huh? Boy, that gave a strong reaction. Yeah. So I really surprised you with that statement, or made you angry, huh? I hear you. Yeah. Yeah, that didn't feel good at all. So people are pushing you. Yeah. And it feels like not supporting, pushing. Now, notice how I gave an option. Huh. I wonder what they're saying. Are they trying to be helpful, or you think they're trying to really make you upset? Okay. So they're trying to be helpful, but it's making you upset. So you two have different points of view. Yeah. That happens a lot in families, and it happens a lot in care. Um, and sometimes it's because, what I'm seeing and what you're seeing, we're looking at it differently. So it'd be super helpful for me if you share a little bit about why staying here is super important to you, or why you feel like changing it is not a good idea. Again, this or that, this or that. If I don't trap people, and I don't know if you're noticing, if you're watching, how my eye contact breaks when I do that. And I literally break the eye contact so I give the person the message, pause and think, pause and think. And I might actually even go, wow, you got a lot. I'm gonna give me a second. I want to write down what you're saying because what I hear you bringing up, let me see if I got this. Now I've said what you're saying is so important that I'm going to pause in what we were doing because I want to get down what you want to say. And this valuing of what the person is saying, I'm doing something about what the person's saying. I'm repeating what I heard, reflecting what I heard on a sheet of paper. Now, what that lets them do is not only say it, they get to hear what they said, they get to see what they said, and then they can decide, does this sound and look like what I meant or not? And then that gives us something because I can say, here's what we talked about, here's what your perspectives were. Tell me for a minute, what do you think your daughter is trying to do with this? What's happening for her? What's her perspective? So that's why I say sometimes having a third party do this person, and then we can see how far apart these are or how maybe close they are or how, and then we have to decide at that point, what kind of conversation are we having? Is it a conversation about, sounds like your dad's a risk taker and mom is a safety seeker. And so she doesn't want to push dad because dad will take more risk. She's worried about that. Or he'll shut the door and keep everybody out. And at this, so it gives us a different way of working with this. Did I say there would be an answer? Not necessarily. What I said is you're spreading out a safety net that's a little bit broader for you and possibly for the relationship and possibly for them. But now you have somebody else involved. Now it's not involved in the way you wanted, which is to take support and care for that person, but it is starting to open the door for the possibility of support and care. This is not a one and done. This is not a quick fix. This is not, it's always going to happen. But when you ask me, how do you do this? I'd say pausing is important. Using your pipes is vital, knowing your 5 Ps, and then being willing to ask for help and then practice before you move into doing, because it is not easy. And the closer you are to the situation, the harder it is to be objective because your view is formed by where you are, who you're with, what's around you, and what you're trying to do in that moment of time. And if I can take a step back and investigate, I might choose to come at this from a different angle. And one of my favorites is, I'm going to ask you for a huge favor. And it's probably going to be something you'd prefer not doing. Laying it out on the table. Because sometimes what we can count on more is a relationship. And the relationship is one where you choose to participate with me. And when you do that, you'll tolerate more things you don't like because we've established that you're not going to like it. I don't try to sugarcoat it. I said, this is going to be hard. And you're probably not going to like the person there sometimes. But if you want to stay here, the only way I can see you being able to stay here in the long haul is to get used to somebody being here. Because what's happening for you at this point is changing some things. You know that, I know that. It's just totally uncomfortable. And at times it'll even be painful. And if I could make it different, I would. So the only way I know to do this is to get through it step by step with support, with pauses, back off, try something, shift it. It's pretty much what we do in life successfully. It's called negotiating. All right, everybody. Until next time, take care with your care, take care of yourself, and say, I might need some help. That's why we do the certifications that we do, and we do the follow-up mentoring that we do, and we offer the programs that we do, is to try to be there when you stumble, when you're struggling, when you have questions, when you have responses, when you have opportunities, when you have something to share. We're here because you're there. And together, we do what we can to change in a direction that's a little more positive. Take care, folks.